the cushion placed between our legs, between our knees, and then get your feet as close together as you can. Everything we're doing today can be done without the cushion, but try and have a cushion just because it will help to heighten your awareness of how you're moving, the muscles, specific muscles you're working, and it also gives your brain something else to think about, so you get a slightly different focus with some of the exercises which are generally very familiar to us. So let's take the arms up to the ceiling for a nice breath out and a breath in to lower. So squeezing that squeezing the cushion between your legs, so you're squeezing your legs together from the outside in. Shoulders are down. You're taking the opposite breathing to your natural breathing, which is breathing out as you go up and then breathing in when you lower those arms. And you're trying to lengthen the spine when you lower the arms. Breath out. The reason we're breathing out when you take the arms up is to draw the rib cage down to connect to your hips. And then the reason we're breathing in as you lower is so that you don't collapse. So naturally you would breath in, breath out, and we tend to lift and lower everything. So we're breathing out and breathing in. Let's add a rise and a balance to this. So in fact, let's take the arms up, breath out. As you bring the arms down, rise up onto your heels and then breath out. Breathing in, breath out. Drawing that belly button towards your spine, sending your tailbone down towards the floor, lifting the crown of the head up towards the ceiling where I've got my lovely top notch on. Lowering the heels with control if you can, and really thinking about those ankles. So a lot of this work is based on my class when I teach with the spiky balls. And if we were doing that work, you would have one ball between your ankle. And the idea is to keep the ankles really stable, no rolling out. And in fact, if I do that now, if I let my ankles roll out, then the cushion drops. So the cushion has the same sort of effect. So let's just do two more. Breath out, breath in, breath out, and breath in. I'm going to add on a little bit to that. When you're up at the top, let's keep those heels up. Let's bend the knees, keep the spine really upright, and then straighten the legs. And then lower, arms are going up. Not worried about the breathing at the moment. I can't actually work out the breathing and the movement. So, we're lifting the heels up as we're lowering the arms. We're bending the knees. Those knees are coming forwards. I'm staying equally weighted on both legs, straightening the legs. And then, I guess this should be breath out, breath in, breath out, breath in. Let's do 4 more of those now I've worked out the breathing. Breath out, breath in, breath out, and in. Oh, I've lost it now. Arms are up, breath out. And in, breath out, straightening the legs. Last one, breath out, breath in, straighten the legs, heels are still up, that's what threw me on that last one, and then lower the heels, arms are up to the top. Great. Notes have flipped over. So we are going to take that cushion up towards the ceiling, and it's the equivalent to our reaches up. So keep the cushion quite flat, and you're sort of reaching up one side and then the other side. So legs quite wide, holding the cushion up nice and flat, as if you're trying to put it on the ceiling, and then one end is lifting, the other end is lifting. So quite a small movement. Think of lifting and lengthening just above your waistband, either side of your spine, in your back. And then from there, we're just going to lower the cushion down, bring it down past your face. Once it's dropped down, your arms are straight, take that movement into a roll down. Soften those knees all the way down. Hang from your waist with your legs bent. Nod your head, shake your head. Check there's no tension in the neck. And then we're rolling up, unraveling through the spine and just noticing that extra weight with that cushion. It's not going to be heavy, but it just gives you a bit more to focus on. So we're reaching up again. Let's do 4 of these. 3, 2, 1, and be really nice and upright. Draw the cushion down the front of your body, and then your head sort of follows it. Your spine unravels all the way down. This time when you're down there, straighten your legs, keeping the hands where they are, the cushion where it is as you breathe out, and then soften the knees to release. 2 more times. Breath out. So stretching the backs of the legs, bend the knees and breathe in. So it's not a great big knee bend, it's just a release of that quite uncomfortable stretch, which probably will be. And then as you roll up through the spine, strongly tuck your pelvis under, push the pubic bone forwards, unravel all the way to the top. Great. We are taking the cushion on top of our head. Oh, my top knot's a little bit too high today. That's getting slightly in the way. So if you haven't got a cushion and you're doing this without, just fingertips to your temples. Lifting, if you're holding the cushion, or imagine you've got one there or something there, you're trying to lift the top of the head up to meet that cushion. And then we're gently going from side to side. So we've just done our reaches up, which lifts the rib cage off of the hips. Keep that rib cage lifted off of the hips. So there's no effect, there's no change in my legs here. I'm not swapping my weight from one side to the other. I'm just happen to be going from side to side with that upper body. Hips are staying still, legs are staying still, legs are staying equally weighted. And as I'm getting a bit more comfortable with it, I'm able to go a little bit further. I'm sort of pulling the cushion apart at the sides, if that makes sense. So elbows are out. This is keeping my shoulders down. I'm aware of the muscles around the shoulder blades in the back. All feels quite nice. And then we're going to keep that cushion there. In fact, let's change this around today. Take it to the back of your head and bring your elbows forward. So you're sort of wrapping the cushion around the back of your head. And then let's take some upper body roll around. So feet nice and parallel, shoulder width apart. You're going to take that upper part, the chest part, looking up towards the ceiling, and then you're rolling around. Keeping the head pushing into the cushion all the time. Same as when we normally do this with the hands at the back of the head. Exactly the same thing. It just feels quite different. So rather than having my hands at the back of my head, I'm hanging onto that cushion. Elbows are really forwards. The elbows are staying the same distance all the way around. 2 or 3 in each direction. Go a little bit bigger if you feel comfortable with that. Feel like you're creasing all the way around at the front, the sides and the back, just on those lower ribs. And enough of that. This is really driving me crazy today. Okay, so we've got a chest and back lift. This time holding the cushion behind your back. So this is quite nice, just to hold the cushion behind you. And before we even go into the chest and back lift, just try and open up the chest by drawing your hands down and then opening up the chest and straightening out your arms. Now, already for me, that's quite a strong stretch across the front of my chest. You might be quite comfortable having your hands clasped. Oh, that's a little bit tight for me. So I've clasped my fingers together and I'm holding on there. Some people are able to have that in reverse as well. Not me. Oh, and then you might be able to just try and lift those arms up a little bit. So I'm going to try that with the cushion. It's a bit more comfortable with the cushion because you've got your hands slightly further apart. So get those arms nice and straight and then just try and lift up a little bit. So it's a very strong stretch at the front of your shoulder. And I'm trying not to let my wrist drop out. Actually, I'm trying to keep my wrists quite square almost. Yeah. Okay, and then just relax a little bit. So we're not worrying so much about opening up the chest, but we are going to take the chest up towards the ceiling. So draw those arms down, get them nice and straight, and then you're sticking your bottom out. If you've got the cushion behind your butt, it just heightens your awareness by feeling that cushion on your bottom, and then you're rolling all the way down, chest relax over the thighs, the head hangs last, and then when you roll back up, again having this here makes me more aware of really strongly tucking under in my pelvis. So as I roll up, I'm really engaging in the lower abdominals and protecting that back. So open up the shoulders, lift the chest, stick your bottom out, flow. Once your head hangs down, relax the arms a little bit. You don't want to keep them completely rigid. And then roll up. Think of that cushion, where the cushion is placed in contact with your sacrum. Think about that area. And lifting up, arch the back. Roll over, relax, round. One more. So chest lift all the way up. Relax, followed by a back lift. Upper back is lifting and leading the way, all the way up to the top. Great, we are losing the cushion for a moment. Feet shoulder width apart, hands onto your shoulders, and we're taking hula hoop overlaps. So imagine you've got a hula hoop, it's level with your shoulders, level with your elbows. Your elbows are actually touching the inside of the hula hoop as you rotate. Head stays facing forwards. And in order for the overlap to happen, you have to join in with this rotation with your hips and your ankles. If you fix either of those, most people fix their ankles, you won't go so far. So if you can see yourself in a mirror, just imagine that. You should be able to get an overlap at the front and the back. So both elbows have crossed over in front of your spine and behind your spine. So this is our maximal rotation with the spine being completely upright. It's a really important movement. It's going to come forwards a little bit because we're going to lengthen the arms in a moment. So now I'm going to take some elbow circles all the way up and back, and try and keep that same amount, that same rotation around your spine, as opposed to what sometimes happens here is these leans. If I was after that, I'd encourage you to lean from side to side, but actually I just want you to rotate as much as you can. Great, and then same thing. Now we're doing backstroke swimming. Your spine, your torso is completely upright and level. There's no leaning, there's no shortening on one side or the other. One arm goes behind the body, the other arm comes up in front of the body. Rotating. And again, the only way to make this happen is to allow hips and ankles to roll around. And it feels quite nice. And then let's come forwards. Up and over. Great. So now we've got our front crawl. Opening up the shoulders and the chest, hips, ankles. Great. Let's bring those hands onto the shoulders for the elbow circles. And this feels quite different coming forwards. It feels like you're sort of wringing the air out in your lungs. It's quite a nice stretch around the muscles in around your rib cage. And then the last one, let those arms hang. Keep your head facing forwards to start with. So completely relaxed with those arms. And then you're adding on, final part, look behind you. Let the arms hit the body at the end of the movement. And coming back to the centre. Great. Okay, we are back to our little cushion. Holding onto it at the side. So hopefully you've got a cushion that's roughly this size, so a fairly small square. So we're going to take knee folds to the cushion. I'm just going to come off my, perhaps I'm going to push that back a little bit. It's all a bit sticky today, so I'm going to prefer to be on my rug. I'm going to hold the cushion in front of my centre of my torso, pulling it apart again, so those elbows are out to the sides. I'm holding the cushion sort of in the middle, and I want to aim my knees for the corners. So feet are hip width apart. So we're just going to alternate lifting one leg up and touching and lifting, hello Bodhi, and lowering. And I'm just swapping from side to side. And what you find that you want to do here is bring that knee across to your midline. So the cushion is a really nice measure. If I face you this way, you'll want to do, so I should be lifting it to here, which is opposite my hip, but naturally it will want to cross over there. And the fact that we've got the feet slightly apart as well makes this slightly harder. Bodhi, you're looking really sad. Are you going to lie down, or are you just going to stand there looking very wistful? So lifting one knee up. Try not to let that knee come across your central line. And if you didn't have a cushion but you've got a nice contrasting top and you can see yourself in the mirror, all of these factors going on, you want that knee opposite your hip, so your hip bones, so not opposite your pubic bone. That's easier. Okay, we're adding on to this. I'm going to go, actually no, I'm going to stay here. So same position, you're going to lift one leg, holding it there, and this time we're going to add a rotation to the corner. And then back to centre and lower that leg, swapping sides. Lifting, rotation, and back to centre. So if you're familiar with my classes, we do a lot of this sort of rotation, and generally you notice that there's not much movement in that ribcage spine. This is slightly different in the sense that you will cheat quite a bit, because you've got your arms out, your hands aren't fixed to your body, but that's fine. Try and be quite true to it. So keep the hips still. Come back to the centre and lower. We're there. Come back to the, rotate to the corner, come back to the centre. Let's do one more each side. So try not to take your head beyond your centre. Last one. Great, so the goal there was to keep the hips, legs absolutely still. We're going to add on to that. I'm going to go sideways so that you can see. We're going to alternate legs. So you're lifting one leg up to the corner of that cushion. I'm going to bring the cushion in towards me, maybe a little bit more. Take the rotation, so I'm rotating towards you. Come back to the centre, swing the leg back, bend your standing leg, hinge over that standing hip, sweep the cushion forwards, all your arms forwards, lift and come upright back into the knee fold, place the leg down, swap sides. Knee fold, rotate, square, swing the leg, take your hip hinge, coming in and up and lower. So joining in with me if you haven't already done that. So we're lifting, we're rotating. Standing leg is straight right now. Come back to face your front, sweep the leg, now bend the standing leg, straighten the arms, sweep the arms forward. Your goal is for hips and shoulders to be level, square with each other as that tissue box is facing your front. Lift the knee and lower. Straight leg, standing leg, rotate, come back to face your front. Now bend that standing leg, hinge over that hip. Hips and shoulders absolutely square, lift and lower. Let's do 4 more of these. Lift, rotate, square, hinge, and coming upright. You don't have to be anywhere as low as I'm going. I realised when I watched Monday's class back, I'm going practically parallel to the floor. You could just be here. I'm after a diagonal line from the hands. Try and get the arms up by your ears, but from the hands or the cushion to that back foot is a diagonal line. There. 2 more. Lift, rotate, square up, and hinge. And lift, and low. Last one. Lift, rotate, and hinging, and lifting, and lowering. Great, okay. Another similar exercise, but this time we're going to stay on the same leg all the way through. I'm going to face this way. We're taking the cushion in a figure of 8 shape. So you're going to lift one leg, your standing leg needs to be nice and straight. You're going to change the cushion from one hand to the other behind that knee, at the back of that knee. This is really upright, lifting the knee as high as you can. You're going to swing the leg back, exactly as we just did. You're going to change the cushion from one hand to the other behind your standing leg. So we're under and behind the knees. So if you haven't got a cushion, you're just touching your hands behind the knee. An easier version if this just looks too crazy. If you know what you're doing and you master that, you're happy with that, carry on. You could be at the side of the room, touching a wall or hanging onto something, and just take this movement on its own. Maybe put your hand on your hip. It's the hip hinge, straight leg, bent leg that we're interested in. You could take an interim little tap to get your balance. So touch the floor, lift the leg, touch the floor, go back. You could, last option, instead of taking that, changing that cushion behind your knee, you could change it in front. If you are still with me, let's do 5 more. That's quite a lot, I know. Especially if you've been doing this all the time. But if you have, absolutely well done. 2 more. Lift, lower, and lift, and change. Brilliant. All on the other side. Hurrah. So I just did my weaker leg. I'm going to do more. I'm going to end up doing more on this leg, but that's fine. So lifting. This time I'm going to try and focus a bit more on my standing leg at being in the correct position. Lift that knee up as high as you can and change. There's only 2 hand changes. One here and one here. Watching the balance. So straight standing leg. Bent standing leg, spine basically stays the same all the way through. That's what we're aiming for. Try and work both legs to the same level of fatigue. Lifting and place the leg behind. And give the legs a bit of a shake. We've got one more. Sorry, this was by request from one of my class members, my regular class members. So I'm going to go back to my yoga mat. We're going to take some alternating lunges backwards. Cushion on top of your head if you can, just to keep that chest nice and upright, elbows out to the side. Otherwise it's just fingertips to temples. Feet fairly close together, all the way back. Whoopsie, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to drop your knee to the floor, but it's quite a good measure of where you are. So let's just do that anyway. So that back knee is supposed to brush the floor, and then you push forwards, and then changing sides. I'm going to drop down on this knee as well. So if you can, this is the perfect position. 290 degrees with those legs. If you can't, that's absolutely fine. Just make sure you bend both knees equally. That back leg has to go quite a way back so that this front knee isn't over your toes. So you're not here in this sort of half and half position. It's not one thing or the other. So if you can, all the way back, brush the knee to touch the floor, and then come upright. Again, if this is too much, you could be using the wall, using a chair, using the kitchen worktop, wherever doing your class using something to give you a bit of support. And if you're using the wall or a bit of support, make sure it's not changing your body position. And obviously you don't really need the cushion. Don't worry about trying to balance a cushion on your head with one hand at the same time. So, good work in itself. Lunges, going all the way back. If you can't change those legs, keep going if you can, your other thing would be to just stay with static lunges with a bit of support, maybe going as low as you can and fully straighten your legs. Okay, we're going to stay in a static lunge. So we're taking one leg back. I'm going to take this leg back. So I've got my open leg towards you. So nice wide position, stopping halfway down, but make sure you're really upright with your chest, hips and shoulders are square to wherever your front is. Hanging onto that cushion or just loosely hanging onto, holding both hands, you're going to take some nice figure of 8 movements. So we're drawing a circle. So we've got another figure of 8, drawing a big circle at the side of your body, at both sides of your body. Because of the position of your legs and your hips, they won't be moving too much, which is why what I want you to rely on is that upper body rotating around. Actually, I've just realised when we do this in class, I normally start by saying keep your head forwards. So start by keeping your head forwards, and then if you can, I've gone straight into the more advanced version, follow the cushion, your arms, your hands, with your head, which is much more challenging on the balance. Great, okay, this is a normal figure of 8. It's like you're kayaking, canoeing down the river. We're going to reverse it. It's weird, it plays with your mind. We're going up and under, like your underarm bowling. Up in the centre and then underarm bowl. Again, look forwards to start with. Up, pull the shoulders back and then underarm bowl. Hips stay square. That back leg especially is probably really quite uncomfortable now. So is mine. Try and stick with it if you can. Let's have a few more. Moving the head, following the cushion as you go now. If you did this on Monday, hopefully today is much better. We are twisting and twisting and twisting. Good job. Let's leave that there. Let's just take a little stretch here. Hold the cushion in front of you. Stretch the arms out. We're stretching the front of this hip. Tuck your pelvis under. We have been working in a neutral. Change that. Really push that pubic bone forwards and then try and straighten that back leg. It should be a really strong stretch at the front of your hip and it actually wraps around your groin. Push your upper back, your ribs between your shoulder blades, push them back at the same time. It's not pretty. Good job. Coming forwards, we've got all that to do on the other side, which is the lovely thing about having 2 legs. Imagine if we were Bodhi and we had 4 legs. Okay, here we go. So we're in our nice square position. You don't want your feet to be too close together. You want them to be at least hip width apart, otherwise it's really difficult to balance. And then we're just getting that movement going. So now, because I'm a bit more tired, I don't really want to move my head with my arms. So I'm going to keep my head facing forwards, concentrating on staying balanced, concentrating on my spine being in the middle between both feet. So again, you're not pitched all the way forward, you're nice and upright. Trying to open up those shoulders. My hips, my waist are staying still, they can't really go anywhere. So when you're ready, if you want to, follow the cushion or your hands. Keep breathing. Stay at the same height if you can. Try not to start to lift up out of it, even though that back leg is uncomfortable. Try and stretch the corners of the sides of the cushion apart a little bit. Give yourself a bit more tension, something else to think about. And we're changing direction, up and under, up and under. Keep the head forwards to start with. Think about pulling the shoulder back in order to get the arms back behind you. That's the lovely rotation. That's the movement we're after. And now I'm able to add the head, not very successfully, it's throwing me off the balance. It's starting to a little bit. Whoo. Let's have 4 more. 3. Movement's getting a bit smaller. 2. And the last one. All the way there. Okay, just hold that cushion. In fact, this time let's pull the cushion apart with your elbows out to the sides. Have the cushion quite close to your chest. Tuck that pelvis under, stay upright, and then try and straighten that back leg. Try not to push the heel down, so don't transfer your weight backwards. Stay exactly where you were, but pelvis really tucked under. Try and straighten that leg. I say try because I can't actually physically lock my back knee out. The stretch is too strong. Elbows out to the side. Stay nice and tall. And, whoo, brilliant. Hopefully all of that rotation, those wonderful hip flexor stretches will help us when we are down on the floor. Great, we're going to come back to being down on the floor on your backs in the base position. You'll need your cushion nearby. And I'm going to move monitors and bits and pieces and kick the dog out as well. Great, so come to sitting on the floor initially, have your cushion nearby. We're going to take a roll down to lie down on our back, so we're in the base position. Hands at the backs of the knees if you can, feet and knees are hip width apart, and we're taking that lovely strong curl under. Just going to move my notes to come with me, all the way down. Unravel your spine, vertebrae by vertebrae. I'm just going to shuffle down the mat a little bit. Great, okay, so just take a moment to settle your spine. We've done quite a lot of hard, strong work, big whole body movements. Heart rate is up, feeling a little bit puffed out. So settle your spine. Let's just wait a moment for the plane to go past. Thinking about either side of the pelvis, either side of your spine being equally weighted, shoulder blades equally weighted, collarbone open, back of the head nice and heavy, the nape of the neck curve is there, the lower back curve is there. Maybe lift your head up and have a little look. Pubic bone, hip bones on the same plane. You're in your base position, you've got a neutral spine. We're going to start off by taking the cushion up towards the ceiling. In fact, we're going to have it onto our hips first. So feet nice and close to your butt, and we're just going to take a straight bridge all the way up. So opening up those hips. So hopefully, and just taking the cushion and the arms up to the ceiling. Hopefully those stretches we just did helped you to stretch out here. It's a very tight area for me, but that now feels quite a bit slightly looser than it normally does. Really switching on the buttocks, you're looking for that straight line, hips, nope, ribs, hips to knees. Oh dear. And then we're going to take the cushion up and back. So I'm holding my cushion in the middle, and as I take it to touch the floor, I'm sort of tipping it up. So I'm actually not resting the whole thing on the floor. I'm having it tipped up a little bit, and then I'm going to reverse peel back down through one vertebrae at a time. Release to neutral. Try not to let those ribs flare here. Keep the rib cage down, and then bring the arms up and over. If you're not using a cushion, stick your thumbs out and just have your thumbs touching the floor. So we're not trying to go to overreach here. It tends to make it very hard to lift not to flare the ribs. So here we go, up to the top. As you come up to the top, take that cushion all the way back, all your thumbs touching the floor, hold it there a moment, and then
rolling down through the spine. Unravel, bring that cushion back over. Let's take 3 more with the breathing. So breath in to prepare, breath out. It's a straight bridge, so we're going straight up, hinging. Breath in when you're there, trying to let those ribs flare, and then rolling down, another breath out, and a breath in to come over. Here we go again, breath out, straight up, open up those hips, breath in, and breath out. Relaxing buttocks when you get your hips back down to the floor. Breath in, 1 more, I've lost count. Breath out, breath in, breath out. Peel through every single vertebrae. Breath in, bring those arms back over. Fabulous. Let's take the cushion between our knees. So between your knees and your thighs. And then we're going to take the big toes together and push the heels out sideways. We're going to interlace the hands at the back of the head. Elbows are slightly forwards. So think about the connection around your armpit with your shoulder blades being connected against the ribs at the back. Think about your torso being in neutral, and we're just coming up for an abdominal curl, squeezing that cushion for all you're worth the whole time. And even if you haven't got a cushion there, squeeze your knees together. Breath out if you wanted to do the breathing, breath in as you lower. Make sure if you're doing the set breathing that you don't relax everything when you lower. So I prefer to just breathe quite naturally, keep this whole area switched on all the way through. Make sure you're not jamming your chin onto your chest. It's the same as what we were doing standing up with the cushion behind the head for the upper body roll arounds. The relationship between elbows, head, chin and chest doesn't really change. You're not moving your head around in your hands. You're lifting that whole upper body as one unit. Good, let's open out those elbows. Keep the hands at the back of the head if you can. Bring your heels together, feet and knees are together. You're going to lift the heels up, you're going to lift your legs up into just a double knee fold, and then lower toes and heels. Heels and lift, come up into a right angle if you can, toes and heels. So what I mean by a right angle is the knees directly above the hips. If you bring those knees in too far, you're going to absolutely lose your lower back curve. That needs to stay the same. I'm still in a good neutral. Even though it looks like I'm having a lovely little relaxing time in the upper body, the position of the arms and your head being down is acting quite nicely as a bit of ballast to stop me from changing my lower back position. So you might find that this was happening, or those ribs are flaring. Keep everything switched on. Heels, lift those knees, toes down and heels. I'm working just as hard in the upper body as I am in the lower body. Good, we're going to bring the elbows in a little bit. You're going to come up maybe to comfy position. You're going to lift both legs up and hold it here. So comfy position is where the tips of your shoulder blades are still touching the mat. I'm in a neutral, but you could be slightly imprinted if you needed to. I'm just going to take double leg lowers, which is just lowering the legs, opening out this angle at the hips, lowering my legs towards the floor. I'm not trying to touch my toes to the floor. I'm just going as far as I can until I find that biting point, especially in those lower abdominals, where if I went any further, I feel like I would lose it and I would arch my lower back. At the moment, I'm in comfy position, so that's relatively easy. Try not to just do this. This is just changing the angle at the knees. The thighs are changing a little bit. Try and keep your legs fixed in that shape. This is the only angle that's changing. If you want to work a little bit harder, clear those shoulder blades, maybe try another 4 or 5. Keep everything switched on, it's very strong work. This can also be done with your legs out straight up to the ceiling, so you're here, much harder. Try it if you want to, because you've got that longer lever, that more additional weight of the length of your whole leg makes it much harder. Okay, we are adding on. We're going to take the cushion away from between our knees. We're going to take a double leg stretch. So we're coming up, upper body is nice and rounded. I am totally imprinted now and I'm drawing my knees in as much as I can. Holding on to the corners of the cushion, reaching it towards my feet. My body is going to stay in the same shape all the way through this. I'm going to extend the legs out, a 45-degree angle, and the arms are going up. And then I'm bringing the cushion back to the tops of my feet. So we're extending away, breath out, breath in to return. No change in the shape of your body whatsoever. Let's turn the legs out and bring them back to parallel. Turn the legs out, bring them back to parallel. Try not to lose the height of your shoulders. Head stays above the shoulders. This is strong work. Turn the legs out, flex the feet, point the feet and come in. 3 more of those. Turn out, flex, point and in. Turn out, flex, point and in. 1 more for luck. Turn out, flex, point, in and have a little relax down. Let that head roll from side to side. So we're going back to the bridge. Single leg bridge. The nice thing about this is your head's now going to be on the floor. That work is always tough on the neck. So feet quite close to your butt, reaching the arms and the cushion away. So I would suggest, if you haven't got a cushion, you're not using a cushion for this class today, just take your arms up to the ceiling, palms facing them, just so that you haven't got that weight of the hands on the floor, arms on the floor. So we're reaching away a little bit. We're coming up into a nice high bridge. And again, I feel like I'm much more open at the front of my hips than I normally am. Maybe it's just my imagination, but that's how it feels today. From here, we're just going to lift one heel off, touch the knee to the corner of the cushion, exactly like we did when we were standing. And actually that's quite difficult, that's really difficult, because I naturally want to bring my knee across to the middle of the cushion. So try, keep those hips absolutely still, touch the knee to the corner of the cushion. And it's really comfortable for me to be able to see what's going on. And this is what I mean about using the props, using something slightly different. It gives you a different focus. So where this cushion is also parallel to the ceiling at the moment, imagine it's your hip bones are parallel to the ceiling as well. So it's all just helping you to measure what's going on. So the leg that stays on the floor is doing all the work of stabilising you. Know which side is your weaker side. Make sure the back of the head and neck are relaxed. Watch that you're not, so another cheat, one is the knee coming across the midline, another cheat is for the leg that stays on the floor to open out a little bit. I'm exaggerating, it wouldn't be that much, but it will want to open out to stop the hip dropping. Try not to let that happen. Keep those heels quite close to your bottom. Good, let's add on. So let's take the knee up. Let's extend the leg. Lift your head up a moment. Thighs are parallel, knees are level with each other. From here, you're going to lift the leg up to the ceiling, keeping those hips absolutely level with a pointed foot. You're going to lower and flex the foot. So you're drawing your heel down. Lift, pointed foot. Lower, flex foot. Sorry, I'm going to change my legs only because I'm working on my stronger side. I wanted to work this side. So leg is extended, lower with a flexed foot, lift with a pointed foot. Lower and lift. Don't lower it so far that you feel like your hips are dropping. And equally, try not to lift the leg up too high and kick it in, so again your lower back rounds. Keep the hips absolutely level. Pelvis in the same place. 2 more. Should be feeling some strong work on that buttock, on the leg that's in the floor, swapping sides. Extend up to the ceiling, pointed foot. Lower and point to lift. Really thinking about your hips, hip bones, replicating that cushion. Lowering, point to lift. Two more, last 2. And lower, and lift, and placing back down. Going back down. And just do whatever you instinctively want to do there. That wasn't too bad for me today. But generally I want to just sort of hug my knees in, make a little rocking movement backwards and forwards. You might just want to stretch the arms and legs in the opposite direction. Take a moment to just really listen to your body. You will naturally do whatever stretch is required. So don't ignore it. Don't worry too much about what I'm doing unless you follow what I'm doing and that feels nice. Then. So I like to circle both knees around in both directions, and it sort of gives that lower back and your pelvis a nice massage in the mat, which is why I like it. Great. Okay, let's just double check I've done everything. Straight bridge, then the legs, okay, we've got our obliques coming up. So think about your obliques in the same way we thought about when we were in the lunge position, when we were in the static lunge position and we were taking the figure of 8 with the upper body, and your legs and your lower part of your body was fixed, and you were trying to get as much rotation as possible in the upper part of the body. This is fairly similar. So you're going to try and just keep your shoulders still as much as possible, and then the whole of the lower body is going to rotate. So let's start with the cushion between our knees and the feet flat on the floor, and squeeze your feet and your knees and the cushion together. Yeah, let's keep the arms in a low V, or a sort of medium 45-degree V. So if that was 90 degrees, that was 0, would be 45 on both sides. Open up the collarbone, feel the contact when we're not moving anywhere with those shoulder blades. And then squeezing the knees together, you're going to take your knees and the cushion and your hips from one side to the other. So your pelvis, your hips go with your knees. Your knees stay at the same height. Your feet stay squeezed together so that the outside foot lifts off the floor completely when you're over to one side. Just hold it over to one side for a moment, doesn't matter which side. Think of from the knee that's furthest away to the knee that's closest to the floor, in a diagonal line to the opposite shoulder. Just think of the area underneath that shoulder and that armpit in your back, and feel that part of your back is pushing into the mat first, which then helps to pull the knees and the legs back into the neutral position in the centre. So over to the other side. So you go as far as that shoulder blade is just starting to want to lift off, but it hasn't actually lifted off. And then push that part of your back into the mat. It's like it's a rope is pulling the legs back in a sort of rotational spiraling action. that makes any sense at all. So when the feet are down on the floor, this is the easiest version of this. And what I'm trying to talk about here is quite weird, I guess, concept. It's quite a complicated concept for not a very complicated movement. So you might not have a clue what I'm talking about. But if you can manage this, it means you're switching on all the right muscles, basically. Okay, so let's move on with this. So you're going to continue with the cushion between your legs. Now the knees are directly above the hips. Feet and knees are together. And then we're taking the legs over to one side. You won't be able to go very far. If you go too far, you'll lose it and the legs will start to roll towards the floor. That shoulder will come off. Come through the centre. I'm in a neutral spine all the way through. Try and keep those shoulder blades equally weighted. And then try and pull the knees back, initiating the movement almost from your armpit, from the side of your armpit. That's what I want you to focus on. Make sure your knees and your feet are both going the same amount. So sometimes people leave their feet in the middle with this and they twist. So if you're twisting, your feet will stay in the centre pretty much, and your sides of your waist, one side will shorten. Absolutely, the sides of your waist stay equal in length. And he's back. Hello, babe. Go and lie down, Bodhi. Go and lie down. Go on. Go and lie down. Okay, we'll let you go. We'll let you off. Yeah. As long as you can see me. Okay. So let's take the final version of this, which is the cushion between your legs, your lower legs, I would suggest, with the legs straight up to the ceiling. Check that your big toes are on level with each other. And then as you go over to the side, they stay level with each other. Because I've lifted this hip up, legs are squeezing together. So they absolutely stay level. You might find now, this being a little bit harder, that you're pushing into the floor a little bit. That's absolutely fine. Use the backs of your arms a bit. Try and stay in neutral. Twisting, using the sides of your ribs. And the last one there. Well done. Brilliant. Sitting yourselves up. Right, Bo, do you think you are going to lift to be out of the way this way? There you go. Good boy. He speaks Pilates. Go on. Out you go. Go on. Go on. Okay, we're into our Gecko Press-Ups. So a nice one, this. Sitting up. If you've got a nice yoga mat like I have, or a space, if you haven't got this, just imagine this sort of space, because we're just going to rock from side to side to start with. Keeping the feet and the knees together, legs are out straight. Fingertips are facing forwards. And as I roll onto my side, I'm keeping my legs together and I'm sort of dropping this underneath side rib cage towards the floor. And it feels, it's quite a nice stretch. This also reminds me of the one of the aerobic exercises we used to do in the 80s. So we're here. Showing my age now. And then we're going to add on to this, we're going to turn our upper bodies towards the back corner of the mat. And you're going to have your fingertips in a little bit towards each other, fingers in a little bit towards each other, the fingers and thumbs spread apart, elbows are going out to the side. So you're making a nice wide elbowed press up. And then pushing over to the other side. And I'm taking my hands equal distance either side of that back corner of my mat, or roughly there. Keeping the legs together, and I'm rolling. I'm trying to get my chest and my hips sort of on the floor. And I love this work. This is from the Garuda stuff. I call it the Gecko Press-Up. I don't think he calls it that, but I don't actually know what he calls it. But it's just a very free-flowing movement. Great for that upper body strength. We're just going to add on to this. You're going to roll all the way over onto your tummy and then bend one knee in, bend that top knee in, and you're trying to bring the knee towards your elbow. You might find that it doesn't quite go there to start with. So maybe you might be taking your hands a bit too far forward, which I think I was, or have a little shortening of the waist to get that knee there. This again is a very natural movement, and initially when I first started I wasn't touching my elbow, but now I am, and now it's quite comfortable. Carry on, rolling from side to side. Usually when I teach this in class I have to ask people to stop because they're enjoying it so much without even realising it. Let's do one more each side. Here we go. And we're there. Brilliant. Okay, another flowing movement from side to side, from kneeling. So this is kneeling side bends. So again, if you've got a yoga mat, perfect, be in the middle of it roughly. If you haven't, imagine this space. Hopefully you've got enough space to be able to do this. We're going to take, so I'm going to go to this side first. Take one hand out to the side, that hand is in line with this knee, and then you extend the foot sideways. So you've got foot, knee, hand, all pretty much in a straight line. I'm in line with the front of my mat. I'm going to brush the fingertips along the floor and then look underneath that arm, maybe up to the ceiling, maybe just forwards, but the focus is lifting this side, this rib cage, up to the ceiling. I'm going to bring that leg back in, bend my knees, relax my head, swap to the other side. That's all going on. So knee comes in together, you sweep past, so both times your hands brush along the floor, you extend the leg, and then you get really sideways, and it's like your hand and your foot are reaching in the opposite directions. And then just start to flow with it. You can lift that leg up, feels really nice. You can leave it down on the floor, it really doesn't matter. Think about that side seam of your top, your torso, getting a wonderful stretch all the way in opposite directions. Make sure you're relaxing your head in between. Let's do 3 more. And we're here. And last one. Excellent. Good job. Okay, just finishing off with a little bit of moving around. I've just realised actually we didn't do any stretches in the beginning, did we? We didn't do any stretches before we got down to the floor. Yes. Wow. Okay, that's unusual for me, but no worries. We're hopefully nice and warm, so we can do a few of them now. So actually, let's come onto all fours. So I'm just going to flow through some things. Keep up with me, do something else that your body is needing if that feels right for you. I'm going to start with some spine circles. Sometimes just try and just move around. Don't actually think about it too much. So make sure you're going in both directions. Whatever you're doing, go right to the very edges of the movement and make sure you're breathing and you're as relaxed as possible. I'm going to take some spine circles in a different plane. So parallel to the floor, horizontal spine circles, also known as the industrial floor cleaner. And I'm focusing a little bit more now on just stressing my wrists and through my hands and my fingers as I go around. Make sure you're going in both directions. Also thinking about the hip joint And then from here, let's take some, I'm going to take some sit bone circles all the way up and under. So tucking the pelvis under, drawing the belly button in, going all the way forwards, arching that back to come, return, up and under. This can get as big as you like, or you can keep it much more subtle how I was doing it initially. Depends on your arm strength. You can reverse the direction with this one. So this is the big version, all the way through, lifting up, getting a little bit smaller. So the original movement is sit bone circles, so that's actually the bit that I'm mainly focusing on. The rest of it is just joining in with other stuff. So toes together, knees nice and wide, take those hips back on the heels and sway from side to side. And breathe. And I'm just developing this a little bit more to turn my head and then go towards my inside of my elbow and then turn and turn. Now go the other way, back of the head towards the inside of your elbow, turn and back of the head towards the inside of the elbow. Bit like, this feels like I'm a cat. Not that I've got cats, I've got dogs as you know, but it feels like the cat when they're rubbing up against your leg, wanting their dinner. Talking of cats, let's take some twiddles with those, that you know the thing when they extend their claws through their hands. And then let's move on to curling the toes under, lifting the hips, pushing back for that downward dog, which Bodhi did earlier. Knees to the floor and relax, and again curl the toes under. So you could go here with the legs bent, hips are high, push the chest back all the way through, then straighten the legs. That's a really strong stretch in the calves. Maybe raise the heels up, tuck the pelvis under, come all the way forwards, bend the knees, send the sit bones back and up, drop the head down, legs are bent, then straighten the legs. Ooh, that's quite strong. And I'm going to finish off today just going into some lovely bear walks. I feel like I haven't done these for ages. So reaching forwards with one hand, the opposite foot follows. I'm keeping my legs quite straight. I'm going to reverse the movement back, leading with the toes, then the hand follows, toes, hand follows. So this is all straight arms, straight legs. You could start to bend the knees in. If you bend the knees in, you'll get a slight twist from side to side. Absolutely fine, just play about with it. Maybe bend, oh, I don't know about keeping the, no, that doesn't work. I was going to go for straight legs, bent arms, but started to get a bit weird and my hair's all over the place. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much if you joined me on this super hot day. Hopefully you'll enjoy the recording if you get the recording, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you very much.